This is our third case in our exhibition, More Than Robert Frank's Americans, American Photography in 1960. And this case focuses on the Photobook. And it's the case presents other notable photo books which appeared at this same time, 1959-1960. It should be noted that prior to this moment, photo book publishing was a relatively new phenomenon. And after this moment, it became an increasingly more widespread opportunity for photographers to show their work. So we're kind of at a cusp point here, I think, in the history of American photography. What we also see is that these books begin to present the notion of photography as a personalized experience, not as sort of a social document per se, but as what we might refer to, for lack of a better phrase, an artistic expression manifested through the photographic medium. And as we often do with our exhibitions here in the Art and Architecture Library, since we unfortunately can't bring the books out of the cases, we'll often put other additional copies that are not perhaps in quite as good a condition as our copies from the art lock stacks. We'll put those copies on the top. So for example, here we have a copy of Aaron Siskind's photographs from 1960 with an essay by Harold Rosenberg. Let's look at some of these books in more detail. This case includes 6 photo books from 1959-1960. Although Robert Frank's The Americans, of course, is our sort of kickoff book for the exhibition, it should be noted that during this time period, a number of photo books appeared. The first one we want to look at is Gift of the Grape. Which includes photographs by Ansel Adams and Perkle Jones. And this book is not significant in the development of the photo book per se, but it's included for the following reason. All photographers, especially the art photographers, had to find some means in order to make a living, and they would often resort to doing commercial work, including even Ansel Adams. And so this is a book that was produced the Paul Masson Winery. The photographs are primarily illustrative. It includes photographs by Adams and Jones as well as other photographs. But the purpose of the photographs, as I said, is purely illustrative. It doesn't really further our understanding of photography at this moment, except to appreciate that there was still some very sort of standard commercial work being done by photographers. This is in stark contrast to Aaron Siskind's photographs from 1959, which includes an essay by the American art critic Harold Rosenberg. And once again here we have a demonstration, as we saw in the second case, the Diverse Practices case, with the Contemporary Photographer magazine on the Museum of Modern Art Abstract Photography exhibition, where it included an essay by Herbert Reed, a noted art historian. So we have art historians, specialists in abstract and painting, writing about photography. The thing to note in the Siskind book is how the photographs on this specially designed coated paper almost appear as facsimiles of the fine photographic print. And so the photo book functions as a mini gallery. The entire purpose of the book is to present the photographs. A very different type of photo book, of course, is Observations by Richard Avedon with text by Truman Capote. The important thing to note here is that it was designed by the great photographer and designer Alexei Brodovich, who is shown here in the last page as he was laying out the book. The importance of Brodovich for American photography cannot be overstated. But within the pages of the book, we have almost a graphic design funhouse. Where Avedon's artistry is allowed to show through, but the role of the graphic designer is paramount. Our fourth book, Journey to the Cape, photographs by Sid Grossman, with text by Millard Campbell, is interesting in that it's a collaboration between Campbell and Grossman, very important American photographer, active in the formation of the Photo League. Unfortunately, the collaboration occurred to a large part after Grossman had died, and Campbell created these sort of fictional monologues or dialogues or observations to go with the photographs. And so, for example, here in this photograph of Coney Island, Campbell's text functions as a sort of, Annie, hey Annie, leave me alone. Hey Annie, you keep needling me. Mike, honest, you're going to get a belt right in the nose. So it's a dialogue between Annie and Mike, a fictional dialogue. The whole book functions as a sort of a narrative, a textual narrative, a pictorial narrative that streams through many countries and many peoples. Our last two books focus on Italy as a subject matter. The first one, Eternal Italy, by Janos Reisman, with text by Carlo Levi. Reisman was a well-known photographer at the time, did very high-level professional work. But his presentation of Italy and what we'll see in William Klein's presentation of Italy are remarkably different. Reisman does play very effectively in the design of the book with the edge of the page. There are a number of full bleeds off the edges of the pages. Occasionally the bleed stops and there's a short margin on the edge. But it's a very high level of work by a photographer working at the height of his skills. William Klein's book, Rome, is more similar in this case perhaps to the Avedon book than any other book. But note how Klein plays with the punchy, dark graphic quality of these photogravure reproductions, how he plays with the edge of the page, the edge of the image, how in some full bleeds you can't really tell if this is a single photograph or two photographs that meet in the center. Occasionally punctuating with areas of white, which are picked up occasionally in the photographs. In Klein's work, you'll often see activity expand off the page. This sort of blurred quality here is the type of photographic representation that some critics would have simply seen as bad photography. Yet in Klein's hand, who is a mastery of editing within the camera, producing almost a collage photograph within the frame. Truly a master at this work. Notice how the photograph flies off the page. Now what we see with this group of photo books is the development of the photo book as a new media, wherein a photographer's body of work is fully articulated, where the photograph is presented as a personalized experience or as a truly photographic document, where the emphasis is on what's happening on the page, what's happening photographically, more than focusing on the photograph as a social document. The photograph is, of course, still rooted in our world, but then it takes our perception of the world and, more importantly, our perception of what photography is to a completely new level.